I never thought I'd be here, telling this story, but I guess sometimes the truth has a way of demanding attention. It all started with my daughter, Mia, spending 3 long weeks organizing her cousin's birthday party. She poured her heart into every detail. I'm talking about hand-picking decorations, creating signs, and designing the welcome board for the party. I knew how much it meant to her. She wanted this to be special. And in the process, I threw my wallet wide open to make sure everything was perfect. The venue, the magician decorating extras, party favors, balloon delivery, the works. One ended up paying $2.30 for it all. But then we found out Mia wasn't even invited to the party. And the reason was as simple and heartbreaking as it was devastating. She's in a wheelchair. I couldn't believe it at first. I kept thinking, maybe there's been some mistake, some glitch in the system. After all, Mia had helped plan this whole thing. She'd spent countless hours picking out the candies for the goodie bags, folding napkins with such care, helping design the signs. She had been a big part of making this party happen, and now she wasn't even going to be allowed to attend, so we didn't go. We just sent a gift instead. That day, when they opened it, half the guests left the party. Why? Because Mia's invitation never came. Not a glitch, not a delay, not even lost in spam. Everyone else got theirs. It came in a flashy, animated email, complete with dancing animals and jungle drums. "You're invited," flashing across the screen like it was the Oscars. My son got one, I got one, even my ex-husband, who hadn't shown up to a family event since 2019, got one. But not Mia. She checked her inbox relentlessly. She'd refresh it over and over, waiting, hoping. Every time, nothing. And each time, a smile got a little smaller. At first, I thought maybe my sister had forgotten to include Mia's address. She was always a little scatterbrained, juggling 3 kids and a full-time job. It's easy to miss something like that, right? So I called her. Mia was with me in the kitchen, folding napkins into perfect little triangles for the table. She was so proud of her work, excited to make the party look both fancy and chill. I put the phone on speaker, and my sister picked up right away. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual, though my heart was already sinking. "I think Mia's invite didn't come through." There was silence on the other end, and then she said, "Yeah, so Tyler asked if she could, not come." I thought I misheard her. I must have. "I'm sorry." "What?" I asked. She just, he wants it to be light and fun, and with the chair and everything. It might be a bit much. My heart stopped for a moment, and I didn't say a word. I just looked at Mia, who was still folding the napkins, but now her hands had stopped moving. Her eyes didn't lift. She just stared at the table, trying, I suppose, to make herself disappear. I hung up quickly, not trusting myself to keep my voice steady. There was an eerie silence between us, just the hum of the dishwasher in the background and the annoying jungle-themed party music playing softly from the Bluetooth speaker. Then Mia spoke. "Still not looking at me," she said. "He doesn't want me there." It wasn't a question. It was a fact, and it burned through my chest like a hot knife. But I stayed calm, as a mother. When your child is hurting, the last thing they need is to see you fall apart. So I took a breath and said, "He's an idiot. You made half this party happen." She nodded, her throat tight, her face still glued to the table. "I thought maybe they forgot," she whispered. "I didn't think they'd actually leave me out. I didn't know what to say. Nothing I could say would take away the pain of that moment. So I didn't say anything. I just sat there with her, the silence stretching on until she rolled herself to her room without a word. She closed the door softly behind her, and it was that softness, the quietness that killed me. I stayed in the kitchen, staring at the napkins she had left behind, perfect little folded triangles, lined up in rows like tiny white flags of surrender. That night, I opened my laptop and pulled up the spreadsheet, the one where I tracked all the expenses for the party. My sister had called me generous, said she didn't know how she would have pulled it off without me. There it all was, The $800 for the venue deposit, $300 for the magician, $450 for decorations and centerpieces, $200 for catering extras, $550 for party favors, balloon delivery, and printed signs, $2.30 total. And that didn't even include the late night trips to pick up supplies or the hours Mia spent designing the welcome board on Canva. I stared at the numbers and it hit me. They didn't just exclude her, they let her build the party and then locked her out. And I let them. I'd helped fund the party that hurt my daughter. That guilt weighed heavily on me as I sat there. I thought I was doing the right thing, being the helper, the yes person, always willing to jump in. But all I had done was make sure the party happened while my child was left out of it. And that's when I made a decision we weren't going. Not one of us, Mia, her brother, or me. But we were still going to send something. The next morning, I told Mia at breakfast, "We're not going." She didn't look surprised, she just nodded, her eyes still on her cereal. But I added, "We're sending a gift now." She looked up, curious. "What kind of gift?" she asked. I shrugged. "One they won't forget." She raised an eyebrow. "Like a flaming bag of dog poop." I snorted. "I'm thinking bigger, but no." She paused, her smile coming back just a little. "Will I get in trouble for it?" "Definitely not." "Will they?" She gave me a small, real smile for the first time since that phone call. "I'm in," she said. And just like that, the fog lifted a little. We didn't say anything else. We just started planning. I didn't need revenge. I needed the truth to walk into that party wrapped in a bow and sit itself down next to the cake. They wanted Mia quiet. Well, we were going to make some noise. The next few hours felt like a whirlwind. I was still processing what had happened, but my mind was already set. Mia wasn't going to be a silent participant in this. She wasn't going to sit in the background while her work was paraded around like it was someone else's. No, we were going to make sure everyone knew who had helped build that party, and more importantly, who had been excluded from it. As I started packing up the gift, my mind wandered back to the past, the things I'd tolerated, the things I had accepted for the sake of family. I'd always been the responsible one, the one who took care of things when they fell apart. Everyone else leaned on me, knowing I'd step in and fix it all. I thought it came with respect, but it didn't. It came with expectations, with silence, with being the helper, the fixer, the wallet. Everyone forgot that I needed help too, but Mia wasn't going to have that life. She wasn't going to be the quiet one who absorbed all the hurt and silently made it better. I wasn't going to teach her that. Not now. Not when I had the power to do something about it. I walked into Mia's room later that morning, and she was sitting on her bed, staring out the window, her favorite green dress hung on the back of the door, ready for the party she was never going to attend. She looked up when I entered, and without saying anything, I walked over to the bed and sat next to her. "You know we're not going." "Right," I said softly, not needing to explain further. She nodded, as if she had already made peace with it. I figured, "We're sending a gift, though," I added. Her eyes flickered with curiosity. "What kind of gift?" I smiled, a secret grin tugging at my lips. "The kind they won't forget." I watched as her eyebrows furrowed, like a flaming bag of dog poop. I laughed for the first time in days. "Not quite, but something like that." She grinned back, her eyes finally lighting up. "Okay, I'm in." And just like that, the tension in the air shifted. We weren't just moving forward, we were taking control of the situation. Mia was going to stand up for herself, even if it meant making some noise. I didn't need to prove anything to my sister or the people at the party, but I needed Mia to understand that she deserved to be seen. She deserved to take up space. I spent the next few hours putting together the gift. It wasn't something I just threw together. No, this was a statement. I wrapped it in crisp white paper and tied it with a thick, deep green ribbon. It had to match the theme of the party. Of course, jungle-themed. Because what better way to show that Mia was still part of the celebration, even if no one else wanted her there? When I finished, I felt strangely proud. This wasn't just a gift. It was an announcement. a declaration that Mia was not going to be forgotten anymore. She wasn't going to sit in the back row, quietly accepting the scraps of whatever was left for her. Not anymore. The moment I placed the box in the car, I felt a wave of relief for the first time in weeks. I felt like I was doing something right, not just for me, but for Mia. This wasn't about revenge. This was about making sure she didn't lose herself in the middle of family dynamics that pushed her aside. As we drove toward the party, I glanced at Mia in the rearview mirror. She had her earbuds in, listening to something, but her face had softened. There was still a hint of sadness in her eyes, but there was something else too, something stronger. She was starting to see herself as more than just the quiet one in the family. We pulled up to the venue, and I felt my chest tighten. I'd never liked these kinds of gatherings, too many smiles, too many fake greetings, too many people pretending to care when they really didn't. But today, it wasn't about me. It was about Mia. I went to hand over the gift to the host. I had no idea how they would react. I didn't care. I just wanted them to see what they had done. I wanted them to feel the weight of what they had tried to erase. As I walked toward the party, the box in my hands felt heavier than it had earlier. This wasn't just any gift, it was the truth. The moment the box was set in front of them, I took a step back, not watching their reactions, but knowing it was about to unfold in front of them. I didn't need to see their faces. I already knew what they'd do. I returned to the car, where Mia was waiting. She wasn't looking out the window this time. She was looking straight ahead, and I could feel her excitement slowly building. She was ready. We didn't need to be at that party. We didn't need their approval. We had each other. By the time we got to our new venue, our backyard, with balloons tied to the fence, the music playing, the kids laughing, there was a new energy in the air. Mia's brother was manning the candy cart. The magician was pulling card tricks for the kids. And there was actual laughter. Not the forced kind, but the real, genuine sound of joy. Mia was finally leading the party, and it was perfect. I knew it was just a matter of time before the truth would surface, the video would do its job, and people would start talking. But I didn't need to be there for that. I just needed to know that Mia would feel welcome, even if it wasn't at her cousin's party. I wasn't about to let anyone make her feel like she didn't belong. The party was everything Mia had hoped for and more. It wasn't the one that had been planned for weeks with jungle-themed decorations and an elaborate guest list. But it was hers. It was a party that reflected her genuine, filled with laughter, warmth, and acceptance. We had the magician, the candy cart, even the lemonade in mason jars. Kids were running around, laughing, playing games. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like I had to make excuses for my family. At the original party, I knew things were unfolding. Mia's gift, the one wrapped in white paper with the green ribbon, was causing a stir. I didn't need to be there to witness it. I could already picture it, the kids asking questions, the parents whispering, and the uncomfortable silence as the truth slowly started to settle in. I checked my phone throughout the day, waiting for the messages to come through. I wasn't expecting anything pleasant from my sister or her side of the family, but I was curious about how the party was playing out. When the first text came, it wasn't from her. It was from a cousin, someone I didn't expect to hear from. It simply said, "Half the party walked out. Your sister's flipping out." The video was brutal. The message stung, but not in the way I expected. It wasn't about the embarrassment, the messiness. It was about the fact that Mia's truth had been exposed. People had finally seen what I'd known for so long, the exclusion, the quiet erasure, the unspoken rule that Mia didn't belong because of her disability. And now, they couldn't ignore it anymore. By 3:00 p.m., our backyard was full. Not just with kids, but with adults too. Parents had started trickling in, some hesitant, some angry, but most of them relieved that someone had finally called out the situation for what it was, relieved that they didn't have to stay quiet anymore. One mom hugged me tight and whispered in my ear. I didn't know what happened. I just knew it felt wrong. Another dad dropped off his twins and stayed for the entire event, helping us clean up afterward. It was the first time I felt like I wasn't alone in this. For once, I wasn't the one cleaning up everyone else's mess. I was part of something that was right. I got another text from a cousin around 3:30. It simply read, "I heard Tyler locked himself in the bathroom. Is he embarrassed or just overwhelmed? Maybe both. He's 12. I thought about that for a moment. Tyler wasn't the villain. He was a kid, and he was raised in an environment that told him to care more about comfort than compassion. But this was his moment to choose how he would react. And the truth was there, staring him in the face. How he dealt with it was up to him. I didn't expect the reaction from my sister that came next. She tried to spin everything she told people I had ambushed her, that Mia was just seeking attention, that I had made her look bad on purpose. It was the same story she always told, the one where she was the victim. She told people I manipulated the video, that it wasn't Mia's idea, and that I had made her say those things to humiliate Tyler. I thought about calling her, about responding with all the receipts, texts, calls, proof of Mia's invite never arriving, but I didn't. I didn't need to. I already knew something she didn't. When you lie in a house full of windows, you don't get to scream when the truth knocks on the door. That truth came when one of the moms who had been at the party posted about the situation in a private parenting group on Facebook. She didn't name names, but she didn't have to. It was about how we talk to our kids about exclusion, how we justify cruelty when it's disguised as something else. The post got shared, and then someone else posted a clip of the video. With the caption, "She helped plan the party, then she wasn't invited." The comments that followed were brutal. People weren't buying into the narrative anymore. They saw Mia, her hands tying ribbons, her voice steady, her face calm and brave, and they saw the truth. And the truth resonated with them. One of the comments read, "She's 12 and handled this better than most adults." Another added, "I would have burned the whole party down." This is what ableism looks like in real life: subtle, dismissive, casual, and disgusting. I almost felt bad for my sister almost. But the thing about the truth is that it doesn't need a defense. The moment Mia stood up for herself, the moment she spoke her truth, everything else unraveled. The magician never showed up at the original party. The candy cart, not there, because they were with us, in our backyard, putting on a show for Mia's friends. The real party had started, and it was so much more than what my sister had planned. By the end of the day, I felt a sense of peace, the right kind of peace, the kind you get when you've made the right choice. Mia was happy. Her friends were happy. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to clean up the mess. I felt like I had done something good. I had stood up for Mia, and I had made sure she knew she was seen, valued, and loved. That night, as we sat on the porch together, Mia asked, "Do you think they're still mad?" "Probably," I said, shrugging. She smiled. "Good." And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the bad guy. I felt like a mom who had done her job. The days that followed were a strange mixture of silence and noise. The silence from my sister was deafening. She stopped posting on social media, stopped reaching out, stopped pretending like everything was okay. There were no more calls, no more check-ins, no more passive-aggressive comments. It was as if she had disappeared from our lives. And yet, the aftermath of what had happened still lingered. I wasn't the one who caused the divide, but it felt like I was carrying its weight. The text messages kept coming, mostly from people who were disappointed in my sister, but some from family members who chose to stay on the sidelines. They didn't know what to say. I didn't care to hear their apologies anymore, especially when I knew their silence was what had allowed this to happen in the first place. The real story wasn't about the party or the gifts or the video. It was about the people who saw Mia for who she was, the kids who stayed, the parents who stepped up, and the fact that Mia had been the one to lead her own group, to teach her classmates about kindness and inclusion, even if they hadn't known what it was until then. Mia never let me see her hurting. She carried that pain like a weight she didn't want me to share. But I could see it in the small things, the way her eyes would flicker to the phone when someone texted, or how she'd hesitate before telling me what had happened at school. Yet, she was stronger than I realized. She didn't need me to carry that burden for her anymore. She was already learning to stand up for herself. I was proud of her, more than I ever thought possible. Then, one day, out of the blue, she came home from school with a big grin on her face. She handed me an envelope, and inside was an invitation to another party. "I got invited to another one," she said, her voice light. I looked at the card, then back at her, a mixture of relief and disbelief washing over me. The note said, "You were the first person I wanted to invite. You seem like the kind of person who makes things better just by being there." Mia smiled at me, unsure what to do with the invite. It wasn't from someone she knew well, but the words on that card felt like a balm to a wound that had been there for far too long. "Go," I said. "You deserve it." And just like that, Mia went. She came back later with 2 new friends, a cupcake in her hand and glitter on her shoes. I couldn't help but smile when she showed me the paper wristband that everyone had gotten. It read, "All are welcome." She smiled as she pulled it off and taped it to her bedroom mirror. "I don't think I'll ever forget it," she said quietly. "You're not supposed to," I replied. "But that doesn't mean you carry it forever, just long enough to know what you'll never tolerate again." Mia nodded, understanding exactly what I meant. We didn't need to pretend anymore. We didn't need to shrink ourselves to fit into spaces that didn't welcome us. Mia was already leading, and I had to step back and let her. A week later, I received a call from Mia's school counselor. Several kids, including some who hadn't been invited to the party, had started a little lunch club. Nothing formal, just a group that made sure no one sat alone. They called it Mia's table. "She didn't ask for it," the counselor said, "but she shows up every day. She's kind. She listens. She's not just included, she's leading." I couldn't speak for a moment. I had to pull the car over and let myself cry for 10 minutes before I could drive home. It wasn't sadness that I felt, it was pride. Mia was finally getting the recognition she deserved. She wasn't just the girl who helped set up the party and got left out. She was the girl who was teaching her classmates what real kindness meant. As the weeks passed, things seemed to settle down. My sister stopped posting online. Tyler kept his distance at school. The rest of the family didn't call me, and when they did, they left voicemails that said, "We hate being in the middle. Can't you two just work it out?" I didn't respond. They weren't in the middle. They were just silent. And silence, I had learned, is a side too. I quietly pulled back from everything. No more group texts. No more holiday planning. No more just one more thing. I returned the last invoice for the party to the vendor, marked "cancelled by request," and left her to figure it out herself. It felt good. Not vengeful, just clean. Like closing a tab that had been draining my battery for years. One evening, Mia and I sat together on the porch, wrapped in blankets. She looked up at me and asked, "Do you think it was worth it?" I didn't ask what she meant. I knew. I thought for a moment before answering, "Yes." "Why?" "Because I'm not going to teach you to shrink yourself just so other people stay comfortable." She nodded, as if she understood completely. We didn't say anything else. We just sat there, together, in the quiet. And that weekend, Mia got another invitation. A classmate she barely knew had seen the video and wanted her at the party. The note read, "You were the first person I wanted to invite. You seem like the kind of person who makes things better just by being there." Mia read it twice, then handed it to me, not sure what to do with it. "Go," I said. "You deserve it." She went. And when she came home, she was smiling a real smile this time. She had 2 new friends, a cupcake, and glitter on her shoes. And I couldn't be prouder. As she pulled off the wristband they'd given everyone at the door, it said, "All are welcome." She taped it to her bedroom mirror. Mia learned that kindness wasn't about letting people treat you like you didn't matter. It wasn't about staying quiet and shrinking yourself for the comfort of others. Sometimes Kindness means standing up for yourself and the people you care about, even when the world around you is telling you to stay small. She showed me that the best way to deal with exclusion is not to absorb it, but to stand in your truth, no matter what. I can't say what would have happened if I'd stayed quiet that day. If I hadn't stepped up for Mia, would things have been different? Maybe. But I know one thing for sure. Standing up for her wasn't just about protecting her, it was about showing her that she doesn't have to tolerate being invisible. And she doesn't have to settle for anything less than what she deserves. As for my sister, I don't know where we go from here. I don't know if we'll ever truly heal, or if we'll just keep pretending like nothing ever happened. But I do know one thing: Mia isn't forgotten anymore, and neither am I.